In Call of Duty Black Ops 2, an interesting mechanic unique to this game, as far as I know, is that it allows the player to fully decide what weapons, perks, and gadgets they take into each mission. One of the perks, the Access Kit, allows the player to access certain helpful items and weapons in a number of points in the game, helpfully labeled with this marker. Every main story level in the game has at least one instance where you can use this feature. However, what if your characters always brought broken guns and their knives were always dull, so you always had to rely on items locked behind these access points? Can you beat Call of Duty Black Ops 2 using only the Access Kit? How will this work? Well, any weapon or gadget we pick up from an access point is fair game to use in a mission to harm our enemies. This includes melee weapons, explosive throwables, and targeting systems for our allies, as well as any guns that we find in these locations, as rare as that might be. While setting up our loadout for Mission 1, we choose to bring future weapons to the past and past weapons to the future, so that way we know which weapons we brought with us on each mission, and I also choose to use really obnoxious camo patterns on each one. We can't choose to go without weapons like you can in multiplayer, but we can choose to go without throwables and other perks. We of course take our only access kit and begin Mission 1, Pyrrhic Victory. After the scene where a guy gets fried in the back of a truck and Mason fails to help him, we head to the battlefield and begin running away from enemies like a little bitch until we get the prompt on screen to access our first weapon, the mortars. We manage to hang on to them for a while because we will need them in a second. We keep running around until we are told to take out the mortar crews. We take them out with one mortar each and then save the rest for the MG trucks. We barely even make it a few minutes into the mission before we are forced to fail the challenge by using Hudson's guns to blow up the tanks. I tried using the mortars, but it doesn't do any damage when we hit them directly. Womp womp. That's gotta be a new record for shortest challenge in channel history. You cannot beat Black Ops 2 with only the Access Kit. We then continue taking out the MG trucks with 2 mortars apiece. I also noticed at some point that we are scripted to be pretty much invincible on this first mission, probably to make it easy for people who have never played a Call of Duty before and decided their first game should be Black Ops 2 for some reason. We managed to dodge one of the guys chasing us by hopping back on the ladder of Savimbi's truck. We don't have to do anything after that until Hudson shows up and we fly over to the boat. And I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't jump in time and died. The next time, I throw one of my mortars at point blank range and explode myself and die again. We then go grab the flak jacket, and we are faced with a problem. We didn't have any mortars when we got on the chopper, but we have them now. These mortars didn't come from an access kit, but we got access to them by using the access kit. So I say it's okay to use these mortars and various ammo crates to refill my ammo, since it was going to be refilled after cutscenes anyway. I blow up some of the patrol boats and rescue Woods before we then fail the challenge again by blowing up the chopper. I missed a shit ton of shots with the Valkyrie before eventually hitting it twice and then going for a swim. I then sneak ahead to our final access kit spot for the mission and pick up some bear traps. I paused the game and I pondered if I could use the machete in our melee slot since there were machetes in the shed, but since Mason didn't pick one up and he still had the one he picked up from the guy on the boat, we didn't use it. We then piss off Menendez and make our escape using the mortars, bear traps, and mortar-equipped bear traps to complete the level, and then Hudson says his signature catchphrase.
Yeah. I'm man.
We then begin the combat portion of our second level by running like a madman to the elevator on the left side, avoiding all enemies until we got to the drone that we can hack and use to thin the herd. We then have to make it through 100 meters of enemies to make it to the temple door, and this was painful. Harper, Salazar, and Crosby were pinned down by sentry turrets, and when we stand by them, they usually don't work too hard in these kinds of firefights. We ran past the turrets, and our companions took them out off screen and moved up, but they couldn't quite take out all the enemies until we bait one of them into getting out of cover, and Crosby takes that last guy out. Thanks, man. We head into the facility and put on our optical camo suit from the access kit by the door, and spend a couple minutes running through the facility until we get to the elevator, which I didn't realize was an elevator, so I get killed trying to jump on top of it. Our companions, due to being off screen, work a lot faster on the next attempt and manage to get us to the elevator, and we take cover on the stairs waiting for Salazar to clear out every guy individually. We take the elevator down to the next portion and get killed a few times trying to run past everyone, so we instead try drawing fire of all the enemies for Harper. There was one little panic moment where a guy came after me, but apparently Harper took care of him, so David said we were in the clear. We then use our last access kit location and wake up J5, a friendly ASD, who then helps us obliterate the guys who come in to stop us afterwards. He's immortal and doesn't take cover, so he draws a lot of fire and takes out both turrets, as well as almost all the bad guys. There was a single straggler, but I used a strategy I called the CTE strat, where enemies will follow me in an attempt to slap me in the face with their guns, which leaves them exposed to my companions. We eventually take down the guy, go into the cutscene, and then we have one more encounter. We are ambushed as the science man gets murked, and J5 helps us clear the area again, but unfortunately we have to leave him behind. It's mostly just a mad dash to the point where Tony Todd and the rescue team are, and we actually managed to make it there and complete the mission without failing the challenge. So in case you're keeping score, that's one mission failed, one succeeded. Onwards to Old Wounds, we actually get a really early and really helpful weapon from our first access location, a Pulwar sword, which we can use on the Soviet troops. We then also get some mortars from the cave hideout of the Muj before we go into combat, and our first section goes smoothly. We use the sword to take out the Russian ground troops and mortars to take out the BTRs. Then we use a cratering charge, which, although not from an access kit, doesn't kill anyone, so I'll allow it. If you don't think we should, well, we've already failed the challenge like a billion times anyway. What do you want from me? We then had to take out some choppers, and since Mason didn't eat his Wheaties this morning, he could not throw the mortars high enough to take out the choppers, even when we got on the horse for some extra height. Maybe if he wasn't a sub 6 foot manlet, he could actually reach them with his sword, as shown in this artist's rendition. We have to pick up and use the Stinger missile here, sadly. We then look for the AT mines while fulfilling our last objective, which was to secure the ammo cache, but we can't find them, and we don't need them anyway. We then start the last part of the mission, which you might think we could skip since it's mostly just QTEs, but remember, Mason tries to kill Kravchenko with a 1911, and he did not get that from an access kit, so we have to button mash and make sure he doesn't do it. 2 missions failed, 1 succeeded. We move on to Time and Fate, and when we are given control of Menendez, I thought, surely there's no way they're going to let us through this part without killing anyone. Surely not, right? Guess what, bitch? I got through it without killing anyone. We then take control of Mason once more and find some Molotovs, which I then stupidly used all of. At the truck section, I have to spend multiple attempts trying to get past it. I had one attempt where I ran back looking for an ammo crate, and I heard the guys blow up the truck, but I got killed when I tried to make a run for it. Then we used the strategy where we push our allies out of cover to encourage them to shoot more, but this doesn't really help much either. Thankfully, I try looking for that mystical ammo crate once more, and I actually find it, and then I can use it to take out the truck and all the enemies up to the house on the hill, but I ran out again on the last few enemies. Woods and Hudson managed to whittle them down to one more left, but try as I might, I could not get them to kill this dude. I tried the helpful nudge strategy. I tried the CTE strategy. Nothing worked because he would not come down the stairs. Brother gets his strats from Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's over!
Mason!
I have the high ground!
However, when I started my long trek back to the ammo crate that I found earlier, I heard Hudson say his line as they killed him off screen because of course they did. After this, we find more mortars yet again as we make our way to the big house on the hill. Our backup helps us clear them out as we head into the basement, and we can finally use guns in this playthrough. We pick up a machete too, but who cares? The rest of this mission is a cakewalk, and we skip the cutscene, so we can move on to the next mission with a quickness. I was under the impression that this would be the hardest mission, but let's see. First, we start off with the claw, and I say that because we accessed Brutus, it's okay to use the targeting ability in this first part, because otherwise we couldn't do shit. You probably could get through it without it, though. We then make it to the streets, which are difficult, but since I let the claws up to the roof, I am allowed to use the targeting, and my boy Harper, as well as some blind luck, we make it to the point where the bus comes around the corner and the bad guys finally stop shooting at us. We push through there, avoid the drone, and come up to the point where Harper tells me to shoot the guy, but we don't have to, and Harper kills them both. We then have to melee a dude and fail the challenge again, but then we get to a piece of trivia I didn't know about until this mission. There's a third access location where we overhear a conversation about the Sakti cars that we get to use later in this mission. Apparently, this gives us access to better versions in the later car chase that have a better boost feature. Unfortunately, that was our last access location, so we have to melee another dude, and then escape the compound, as Menendez knew we were here the whole time. When we get to the holdout section, we take control of Brutus and decide that we can only use the flamethrower since that's the only weapon we got when we accessed him earlier. He gets taken out, but that's okay because we can then drive the car and... fuck. We have to fly the drone. Thankfully, we only have to blow up a barricade and not kill anyone before we can take control of the Sakti once more, which we are allowed to use to kill people since we accessed it earlier. Easy car chase. Time to move on to Karma. We make it to the level of the resort boat thing. They're not really super clear on that. Where we start getting shot at and Salazar takes care of it. But then we fail the challenge again because we have to use Ziggy. We then take out the guard, head into the next room, and this section is brutal. We get our first access location of the mission right here, but all it does is highlight enemies on our UI, which doesn't help considering we still can't hurt them. I do a lot of running and dying here, but combining our helpful nudge and CTE strategies, along with strategically moving forward to motivate Salazar, will get you where you need to be eventually. We make it to the elevator and head to the club, where we are all fam, and also where we failed the challenge again, but surprisingly less than you'd think. I only shoot a guy once non-lethally, and then I shoot the floor a bunch, but other than that, we get out clean because Salazar throws a grenade from the top deck to clear out the guys that you didn't kill in the slow-mo section. After that, the bombs are detonated, and we access a part of the armory which gives us a taser fist and allows us to use guns again. We move forward through the hectic firefight using our new weapons until we get to the last access location, which gives us an ASD, but it doesn't really follow us into the next part, so it's kind of worthless. DeFalco is on the run, and we fight our way through another hectic section where the ship's ASDs shoot at us and the terrorists. But now it's time for a challenge within a challenge. Can you beat DeFalco with only the combat suppression knuckles? Well, we start the fight and shoot his buddy, but we get third-partied by another guy who came up behind me and killed me. We try again, I shoot the other guy, run around a bush, and knock that fucker's lights out, and prove that yes, you can beat DeFalco with only the combat suppression knuckles. Next mission is Suffer With Me, and we certainly are suffering. After Fallen Angel turned out to be easier than I thought, I was thinking this one would be for sure worse. But let's begin. We hop off our boat, refuse to throw the knife, and run like a madman to the hangar where we get our Nightingale grenades. Now, I've never used these correctly before because I thought they were just decoy grenades. Boy, was I wrong, but I didn't know that yet. I kept playing as a pacifist and letting Mason be the one to cover woods for a change instead of the other way around. We grab our flak jacket, pacifist around Noriega's plane until we get Mason to lead the way to the hotel. Then we head inside and kill another dude in a cutscene, which doesn't count. We grab Pineapple Face, head to the next area, and we are forced to kill a bunch of enemies since Mason is stuck in the animation where he has a gun pointed at Noriega. This is where the Nightingales come into play. I try throwing them directly at the enemies, then I realize that they're doing damage to them while the grenades are on the ground, as well as to myself if I walk past them. This is because they're shooting out a bunch of bullets and shrapnel while they're on the ground. And this is a game changer. We take out the enemies, grab the IR strobes, which we don't really use that much, and we fight through the streets of Panama City until Noriega runs away from us again, where we have to use more Nightingales, but the rest of the mission isn't so bad until we get to the sniper section, and we have to shoot some guy in a hood in the legs twice. Next mission is super easy. Achilles' Veil starts us off with both a sword and active camo. We cut down many soldiers until we get to another access location, which gives us a sentry turret that surprisingly gets shot at a lot and is hard to aim because of that. Regardless, we take out the ASDs, head forward to Menendez, and then we make the wrong decision by shooting Menendez instead of Harper, who I had already shot on my campaign save file, and since I didn't rewind the story, he wouldn't be appearing afterwards no matter what I chose. We are then forced into a turret section, but you don't have to pull the trigger at all, so it's okay. Fareed strips naked to give David his camo suit and sword, so a floating M1911 runs around killing all of Menendez's guys with a pole war sword until we get to his VTOL and end the mission. Odysseus is another easy one. We start off with the knuckles, and I try to go through the door without picking up my guns, but mean-ass fucking Salazar won't let me, so I have to pick up my Makarov, and then he lets us through. We zap every motherfucker we see who isn't wearing blue until we can hack the first of 2 turrets. We then keep zapping until we get to the second. Then we take control of Menendez. Salazar betrays everyone, and then he thwacks Briggs in the noggin when we refuse to shoot him. Mason then finds the Admiral, and we yell at Salazar. Then we head up to the main flight deck to summon a Claw, who helps a little bit, but he's not necessary since we have the Zap Knuckles. The next mission is the worst one. We fail immediately by having to use a SAM to take out drones, then we rappel down and help the President and her 2 Secret Service dudes, but unfortunately they have the same problem as Mason and Noriega and get stuck in an animation where they don't shoot, and we have to protect them, otherwise we fail the mission. There is one nameless dude up ahead fighting alone beside the MRAPs that we need, but he won't help us from his position, and unfortunately we do have to use our pistols to take out some of the enemies. Not only that, but the President and her 2 idiots refuse to get in the fucking truck until some enemies are cleared out of the way from in front of us. This is where our nameless hero steps in. Unfortunately, he does spend a lot of time shooting at the barrier he's hiding behind instead of at the enemies, but with time, patience, and the helpful nudge strategy, he eventually does the work and kills all the bad guys for us. We get in the car and avoid running people over, but it's all for naught because the next section is one of the worst parts in the entire game. I spent so long here because the enemy has 3 claws, and our quadrones that we get in the first access kit get blown up so fast by the 4-legged Boston Dynamics robo-doggies. All but 2 of the police officers get killed, and the ones that live only have a Cap 40 and a KSG, so they're not exactly laying down lots of suppressing fire. My main strategy is to use the cops to clear out some of the guys, then make a mad dash for the next access kit. But I get taken from full health down to 0 very quickly, and I realize that taking down the claws is not an optional objective, and I don't have infinite ammo for the quad drones, so I'm going to need to pick up an RPG and take them out. I eventually rescue the trapped Secret Service guys, head to the mall, take out some drones with the SAM launcher, which, although fun, doesn't have much of an effect on the difficulty. I still have to mad dash through the rest of the level using only quad drones, as eventually they do respawn, but they're just not very helpful. When we get to the fighter portion of the mission, I just decide to quit because there's nothing I can really do to change what happens in that section. It's going to be a forced failure anyway. We can't not shoot or we fail the mission, so I've already recorded the gameplay. Go watch my playthrough of the campaign, I guess. It's here on YouTube. I'll link it down in the description. Last level, baby. I get my quad drones, which thankfully have infinite uses while outside, but I can't find the crashed VTOL to get the kinetic strike weapon. However, it wouldn't be all that useful anyway, because the main problem is indoors with the tight, cramped spaces and the gaggle fucking of doors. I take out as many as I can from outside using the quad drones before making my way in, and hoping my NPC allies can do all the work. Eventually they do, and it's a constant stream of them, so much like the infinite monkeys with typewriters, these morons will eventually produce their Shakespeare, aka me beating the level. We make it to the ASD, which, unlike the other two we can access in the campaign, doesn't have a name. I name him Steve, and I shouldn't have done that because, unlike J5 from the second level, Steve is not immortal and passes away tragically. The rest of the soldiers and I do push up eventually, with us again using our old strategies until we got to the control room. I yell encouraging words to the endless men who run in there and get slaughtered over and over and over. But eventually, with me running around drawing fire like an idiot, we clear out the room and can check out Menendez's live stream, and hopefully we can stream snipe him IRL. He blows up the room and we begin our final push. There are some NPC allies here, but not an endless amount like last time. Eventually, we are on our own, and we run as fast as David's little legs can carry him to make it to the final slow-mo section, where we fail the challenge one more time, as David has to shoot 2 more guys with a pistol before we tackle Menendez in a cutscene, but we refuse to kill him because we didn't get that pistol from an access kit. With a final tally of 13 forced failures, it's safe to say that we did not beat Black Ops 2 with only the access kit. However, we did beat 4 of the game's missions without any forced failures, so we can walk away with a small victory. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Please give us a like and a comment, and subscribe if you aren't already, because I try to have more of these challenge videos out, coming out around once a month. If you want to watch the VODs for this challenge, or any other run that we've made on this channel, head on over to Patreon. I make all VODs available to the public when the video goes public itself, so they're available right now for free. Go check it out. I also have a bunch of other stuff on there as well. It's down in the link tree in the description below. If you want to suggest a challenge, I have a channel for that in my Discord server, which is also in the link tree. We have a lot of fun there, and if I use your idea in a challenge, I'll be sure to include you in the video. Thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you guys later.